I had been babysitting for 3 years, and nothing ever scared me. Crying babies, creepy basements, power outages. I had seen it all. So when I found a last-minute job offer on a local board paying double my usual rate, I didn't hesitate. The house was at the edge of town, surrounded by tall trees that blocked most of the streetlights. It wasn't abandoned looking, just too quiet. The kind of quiet that feels like it's listening. Mr. and Mrs. Harper greeted me at the door. They looked exhausted, pale, and strangely tense. Mrs. Harper knelt beside her son, Oliver, a quiet 6-year-old with large dark eyes. "He goes to bed at 9 sharp," she said. "No later." "That's fine," I smiled. Mr. Harper handed me a folded paper. "These are the rules. Please follow them exactly." I laughed softly. "Of course." But he didn't laugh back. After they left, I unfolded the paper. 1. Do not open the basement door. 2. If Oliver talks to someone in the hallway, ignore it. 3. If you hear knocking from inside the walls, turn the TV volume up. 4. If Oliver asks about the tall man, say you don't see him. 5. Lock all doors by 10 p.m. Do not unlock them for anyone. I stared at the list. It had to be a joke. "Oliver," I called gently, "do your parents always give babysitters rules like this?" He looked up at me slowly. "They forgot one," he whispered. A chill ran down my spine. "Forgot what?" He didn't answer. Instead, he looked past me, toward the hallway, and smiled. By 8:30, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Oliver sat on the living room floor drawing pictures. Every single drawing showed the same thing. A tall, thin figure standing in the hallway. Its arms were too long. Its face was blank. "Is that the tall man?" I asked carefully. Oliver nodded. "Does he scare you?" "No," Oliver replied. "He just watches." I forced a laugh. "Well, I don't see anyone." Oliver's eyes slowly moved toward the hallway behind me. "He's behind you." My heart slammed against my ribs. "Don't look." Rule number 4. Say you don't see him. I swallowed. "I don't see anything, Oliver." Silence filled the room. Then, a soft creak echoed from the hallway. The kind of sound old wood makes when someone shifts their weight. I refused to turn around. At exactly 9, I put Oliver to bed. He didn't resist. He just hugged me tightly before lying down. "If he stands next to my bed," he whispered, "don't come in." "Why?" "He doesn't like when you look at him." The hallway light flickered as I stepped out of his room. And that's when I saw it. A shadow stretched across the wall, tall and thin, even though nothing was there to cast it. The knocking started shortly after. 3 slow taps, from inside the walls. At first, I thought it was pipes. Old houses make noises. But the knocking wasn't random. It was deliberate. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 knocks again. From inside the walls. My hands trembled as I grabbed the remote and turned the TV volume up, just like the rules said. The knocking stopped immediately. I stood frozen. Then it started again. This time closer. From the wall beside the TV. The drywall bulged slightly, as if something pressed against it from inside. I stumbled backward. Nope. 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 My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Do not check the basement." My blood ran cold. I hadn't touched the basement door. Had I? Slowly, I turned toward the hallway. The basement door was slightly open. Just an inch. Darkness leaked from the crack like thick smoke. And then I heard Oliver's voice. "Can you come downstairs?" It wasn't coming from his bedroom. It was coming from the basement. I ran to the stairs leading up to his room. He was asleep. Peacefully. Breathing softly. "Oliver," I whispered. His eyes snapped open. "Why did you open the basement?" he asked. I hadn't. But something had. I locked Oliver's bedroom door and rushed downstairs. The basement door was now wide open. Cold air poured out, carrying a damp, earthy smell. The light switch near the stairs didn't work. Of course it didn't. "Don't go down there." Oliver's voice echoed faintly from upstairs. But it didn't sound like it came from his room. It sounded like it came from inside the walls. The knocking returned, this time from beneath my feet. I stepped closer to the basement entrance. Slowly, carefully, a hand shot out of the darkness. Long fingers, too long. They gripped the edge of the doorway and pulled something upward. A tall, thin shape unfolded from the shadows. It didn't have a face, just smooth, pale skin stretched tight across where features should be. It tilted its head, watching me. I couldn't breathe. It began to step forward, but the front door handle started rattling violently. Someone was trying to get in. "Open the door!" A woman screamed from outside. It was Mrs. Harper. "Don't open it!" Oliver screamed from upstairs. The tall figure froze. Then it slowly turned its blank face toward the front door, smiling, without a mouth. The door shook violently as Mrs. Harper pounded against it. "Let me in." I remembered the rule. Do not unlock the door for anyone. My hand hovered over the lock. The tall figure stepped between me and the basement. Its limbs bent in ways they shouldn't. It leaned down close to my face. I could feel its breath. Cold. Rotten. It slowly raised one long finger and pointed toward the door. Another knock echoed from inside the walls. Then another. Then dozens. The house was alive with knocking. "Please." Mrs. Harper sobbed outside. "He's still inside." My stomach dropped. "He's still inside." I turned slowly. The tall figure was gone. The basement was empty. The knocking stopped. Silence. I opened the door. No one was there. Just darkness. And the trees. My phone buzzed again. A new message from the same unknown number. "You broke the last rule." Upstairs, Oliver started laughing. But it wasn't a child's laugh anymore. It was deeper, older, and it echoed from every wall at once. The hallway light flickered, and a tall shadow stretched across the ceiling, standing behind me, watching. I didn't usually accept babysitting jobs outside the city, but the pay was triple my normal rate. The message said they needed someone urgently for one night. No details, just an address and a time, 8 p.m. The house sat alone at the end of a long gravel road. No nearby neighbors. No streetlights. Just a two-story home surrounded by dead trees that scraped against each other in the wind. When I knocked, the door opened almost immediately. The mother, pale and tired-looking, smiled nervously. "Thank you for coming. Our daughter, Lily, is already asleep. You won't need to do much." The father stood behind her, silent, watching me carefully. "Is there anything I should know?" I asked. The mother hesitated. Then she handed me a small note. "Just follow these instructions." After they left, I unfolded the paper. 1. Do not enter Lily's room after 10 p.m. 2. If you hear crying, check the baby monitor first. 3. If the monitor shows Lily standing in the corner, do not go inside. 4. Lock all windows at exactly 9:30 p.m. 5. If someone knocks at the door after midnight, ignore it. I laughed under my breath. Weird rules were common with nervous parents. At 9:15, I locked the windows. The house felt colder than it should. At exactly 9:30, the baby monitor turned on by itself. A soft static filled the living room. Then I heard it. Crying. Soft. Slow. Almost forced. I looked at the monitor screen. Lily wasn't in bed. She was standing in the corner of her room, facing the wall, perfectly still. I stared at the monitor, waiting for her to move. She didn't. The crying stopped, but she remained standing in the corner, her back to the camera. "Okay," I whispered to myself. "Kids sleepwalk." I started walking toward the stairs. Halfway there, I remembered rule number 3. If the monitor shows Lily standing in the corner, do not go inside. I stopped. My heart pounded loudly in the quiet house. I walked back to the couch and kept watching the screen instead. 10 minutes passed. She hadn't moved. Then slowly, her head tilted to the side. Not toward the wall, toward the camera. But her body didn't turn. Only her head. It twisted too far. Too far for a child. My breath caught in my throat. The monitor crackled with static. Then I heard something behind me. A soft shuffle, like bare feet on wood. I froze. The monitor still showed Lily in the corner, facing the wall. I slowly turned my head. The hallway behind me was dark, empty, but I could feel it. Someone was standing there, watching me. The baby monitor whispered something through the speaker. It wasn't crying anymore. It sounded like breathing. Close. Very close. Then Lily's voice came through. "Don't turn around." I didn't move. I couldn't. The breathing behind me grew heavier. But the monitor still showed Lily in her room, in the corner, facing the wall. My phone buzzed suddenly in my hand, making me jump. Unknown number. One message. That isn't her. My blood ran cold. I looked back at the monitor. Lily's head was now fully turned toward the camera. Her face was pale. Her eyes were completely black. Her mouth moved slowly. But the sound coming through the speaker wasn't her voice. It was deeper, older. "Look at me," it whispered. Behind me, something shifted closer. I could hear the floor creak. One step, then another. I forced myself to stand up quickly and spin around. The hallway was empty, completely empty. I ran to the stairs and looked up toward Lily's bedroom. The door was closed. The crying started again. But this time, it wasn't coming from the monitor. It was coming from upstairs, from inside her room, and through the monitor speaker at the same time. Two cries, perfectly synced, like an echo, but slightly delayed, as if there were two Lilies, one upstairs and one much closer. The clock hit 12:01 a.m. A loud knock slammed against the front door. I nearly screamed. 3 hard knocks. Slow, deliberate. Rule number 5. Ignore it. The knocking came again, this time stronger. "Please," a woman's voice called from outside. "Open the door. She's not your child." My chest tightened. It sounded exactly like Lily's mother. "I forgot something," the voice said sweetly. "Open the door." The crying upstairs suddenly stopped. The monitor screen went black. Total silence filled the house. Then the front door handle began to rattle violently. I backed away slowly. The voice outside changed. It deepened, warped. "If you don't open it," it growled, "she will." Upstairs, a bedroom door creaked open. I looked toward the staircase. Slow footsteps began descending. Heavy, too heavy for a small child. The monitor screen flickered back on. Lily was still standing in the corner of her room, facing the wall. But something was wrong. The camera angle showed her door wide open, which meant, who was walking down the stairs? The footsteps stopped halfway down the stairs. I couldn't see anything, just darkness. Then the hallway mirror caught my attention. In the reflection, I could see the staircase clearly. And standing there was Lily. But she wasn't a child anymore. She was tall, too tall. Her limbs stretched unnaturally long. Her head tilted sharply to one side. She smiled. But when I turned around, nothing was there. The knocking at the door stopped completely. The house fell silent. I looked back at the mirror. She was closer now, standing directly behind me in the reflection, her long fingers reaching toward my shoulders. I refused to turn around. My breathing became shallow. Slowly, very slowly, the reflection version of Lily leaned closer to my ear and whispered, "You were never babysitting me." The monitor suddenly showed a new image. The living room, the couch, me, sitting there earlier in the night. But I wasn't alone. Something tall and thin was sitting beside me, watching me the entire time. The screen went black. The mirror shattered. And everything went dark. The next morning, the parents returned. The front door was unlocked. The house was empty, except for Lily, standing quietly in the corner, facing the wall, waiting for the next babysitter. The job seemed normal enough. A quiet suburban house. A polite couple. One 7-year-old boy named Ethan. They were going to a late dinner party and would be back around 1 a.m. Easy money. Before leaving, Mrs. Collins handed me a tablet. "This connects to the house cameras," she said. "We have one in Ethan's room, one in the hallway, and one in the backyard." "That's fine," I smiled. Mr. Collins hesitated before speaking. "If the cameras glitch, don't reset them." I laughed softly. "Glitch how? They'll show you something that isn't there." I thought it was some kind of joke. It wasn't. By 9 p.m., Ethan was asleep. I double-checked the tablet. His room camera showed him curled under his blanket. The hallway was empty. The backyard still. At 10:17 p.m., the screen flickered. Static filled the display. Then the hallway camera came back on. Something stood at the far end of the hallway. Tall, thin, motionless. I immediately looked up from the tablet toward the real hallway. Nothing. I checked again. On the screen, the figure was still there. It wasn't blurry. It wasn't shadow. It was clear, and it was slowly turning its head toward Ethan's bedroom. My stomach dropped. I ran to the hallway. Empty. Completely empty. But when I looked back at the tablet, the figure was no longer at the end of the hall. It was standing right outside Ethan's bedroom door, and the door handle was beginning to turn. I sprinted upstairs and threw Ethan's bedroom door open. He was asleep, peaceful, alone. I checked under the bed, inside the closet, behind the curtains. Nothing. My hands shook as I stepped back into the hallway. The tablet buzzed in my hand. I looked down. The bedroom camera was active, but it wasn't showing what I was seeing. On the screen, Ethan was sitting upright in his bed, staring directly at the camera. But the real Ethan was still lying down in front of me, sleeping. I slowly looked back at the tablet. Screen. Ethan smiled. A slow, unnatural smile. His head tilted sharply. Then the screen version of him whispered something. The audio crackled. "He's behind you." I spun around. The hallway was empty. When I looked back at the real Ethan, he was sitting upright now, in the exact same position as the one on the screen. But his eyes were still closed. My chest tightened. "Ethan," I whispered. His eyes opened slowly. They weren't his eyes. They were completely black. The tablet slipped from my hand and hit the floor. The hallway camera flickered back on by itself. The tall figure was standing directly behind me now, so close that it filled the entire frame. And it was smiling. I grabbed Ethan and pulled him off the bed. The moment I touched him, his eyes returned to normal. He started crying. "What's wrong?" he asked. Before I could answer, every light in the house flickered, then went out. Total darkness. The tablet screen remained on, glowing faintly on the floor. The hallway camera still active. The tall figure was gone. Instead, the hallway showed something worse. The bedroom door, closed, but I was still inside the room holding Ethan. The camera was showing us trapped. The tablet crackled again with audio. "Do not unplug the router." I froze. I never told anyone I was thinking about disconnecting the cameras. The screen shifted to the living room camera. It showed the router blinking red. Then a hand reached into frame. Long fingers, slowly wrapping around the cables. The feed cut to black. Upstairs, Ethan began shaking violently in my arms. "He's coming," he whispered. "Who?" I asked. "The one from the screen." Heavy footsteps echoed from downstairs. Not human. Too heavy. Too slow. The power suddenly came back on. The hallway light flickered, and at the bottom of the stairs, something was standing there, waiting. The tablet turned back on by itself. This time, it wasn't showing live footage. It was replaying earlier recordings. I saw myself entering the house, smiling, waving goodbye to the parents. But in the replay, the tall figure was already inside, standing behind me the entire time, invisible to me, watching. The footage sped up. Every room I walked into, it followed, staying just outside my vision. The screen froze on one frame. Ethan's bedroom. While I was downstairs watching TV, the replay showed Ethan sitting up in bed, talking to someone standing at the foot of his bed. The tall figure. But it wasn't facing him. It was facing the camera. Facing me. The tablet screen cracked suddenly, lines spreading across it like veins. A final message appeared. "You let it in." The front door downstairs slowly creaked open. I never heard it unlock. Cold air rushed through the house. The cameras all went dark at once. And from downstairs, a voice spoke. In Ethan's voice, but deeper. "You can't watch it anymore." The staircase began to creak. Something was climbing up. I locked Ethan inside his bedroom closet and told him not to come out no matter what he heard. The footsteps reached the top of the stairs. Slow. Measured. The hallway light flickered again. I held the broken tablet like a shield. The screen briefly flashed back on. One final camera feed appeared. The front yard. The parents' car pulling into the driveway. Relief flooded through me. But then, the feed zoomed in. The people stepping out of the car weren't his parents. They were pale, stiff, moving unnaturally, smiling too wide. The tall figure stood between them, guiding them toward the door. The real parents weren't coming. The tablet screen went black permanently. The Wi-Fi router downstairs sparked and died. No signal. The hallway grew colder. The bedroom door slowly began to bend inward, as if something tall was pressing against it from the other side. Ethan screamed from inside the closet. The door finally cracked open, and standing there was nothing, just empty space. But I could feel it, standing inches from my face, breathing, watching. The closet door slowly opened on its own. and Ethan stepped out, smiling. "Now we can watch you," he said. The house cameras turned back on, but this time, they were pointing at me.